Greetings. Thank you for joining today's webinar, LoadMaster, Exploring Deeper User Insights with LoadMaster 360. My name is Rochelle Wheeler, and I am joined here today by James Rego and Cam Karim. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. There is a questions panel located in the lower portion of your screen. You may need to either expand that panel by clicking the plus sign or the down arrow to see a full view. We will take questions at the end of this presentation, and you are encouraged to submit those questions via the questions panel at any time. Today's session is being recorded, and the recording will be made available at its conclusion. I will now hand today's presentation over to Cam and James. Cam?
Thank you, Rochelle. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Exploring Deeper Insights with LoadMaster 360. My name is Kamirat. I am the Product Marketing Manager for LoadMaster, and I'm presenting with James Rego. He's the Product Manager for LoadMaster.
Hello, everyone. I'm James, like Cam said. I'm one of the product managers here at Progress, specifically on our LoadMaster team. I've been here for about 14 years, and I specifically focus on our product that we'll be talking today called LoadMaster 360.
Right. Thank you, James. Okay, so let me just get started with the agenda. So we're going to discuss application experience and why it matters. And then we move on to, how you can improve application experience with LoadMaster. James will give us a walkthrough of the LoadMaster 360 platform and, give a demo on how you can use user insights. And then we wrap up the session with a Q&A discussion. All right, I'll get started. Right, so, we've all heard a lot about application experience and how that is a big deal, but what is it really, right? Application experience is basically the end user experience. This tells you, whether the application is available, are your users able to access it, is your application working as expected, is it, what is the application performance? Is it running securely? And, how does it function if you have, a rise in traffic volume? So all of this information provides an accurate picture of what the end user is experiencing when they access your application or use the application. So why does this matter, right? As you can see on the slide, it does have a business impact. So if your application is unavailable, if it is running slow, or it has been compromised due to a security breach or a cyber attack, these scenarios can disrupt normal business operations, and that in turn can have an impact on the business itself. So as you can see, this is based on a recent survey. This can lead to 47% loss of productivity, 53% loss in revenue, and around $12,990 per minute is the cost of an unplanned outage. I'm sure most of you have heard of the CrowdStrike incident that happened a couple of months ago, and that's a good example of a high-profile outage. It was a huge outage which had a big impact on business operations across the world and on application experience itself. And as you can imagine, the fallout from that, the financial impact is obviously high. So it is important. So maintaining application experience is definitely very important. Now, it might be easy to say, maintain application experience, but it's not an easy thing to do. It is difficult to maintain it. Why is that, right? It pretty much boils down to the modern IT landscape. We have so many different technologies and tools out there. Applications are no longer on-prem servers. We are not deploying applications on on-prem servers. we have moved to the cloud. Applications are on the cloud, be it multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud environment. Then there are containers. Applications have been containerized. And then there are also microservices that are being used. And again, there's also the serverless aspect to it. So in all, there are a number of tools that are involved in application development, deployment, as well as managing and maintaining applications. So overall, we are looking at a very complicated network of tools and services, and all of these tools and services need to work together to provide the best possible application experience. So how do we ensure, you're providing the best possible application experience? How do you ensure that you're providing high performance or high application availability, even when there are so many different components to manage? Now, this is where application analytics comes into the picture. There are a lot of different application analytics tools, and these tools provide insights into critical performance metrics and also the server health. Right? For example, if you can look at telemetry that talks about client server timings, or for example, round trip timing, then this can help you figure out if there's any latency in the network. Also, if you have access to traffic information or traffic data, you can look at the type of traffic that your application is getting and the volume of traffic that your application is getting. And monitoring this can help you figure out if there's any potential security issue that can impact your application. Now, these tools also provide reports, like performance reports, reports on availability, the security posture, and server status. And this is useful for IT teams. They can use it to collaborate better. If there's any incident that happens, they can quickly pull up the information and figure out what needs to be done if it is a network issue or an application related issue. So these tools provide IT teams, like DevOps teams or SRE teams, IT ops teams, all of these teams, visibility into the application delivery chain. And what this does is this helps them quickly determine where is the issue, how they can resolve it, and even proactively troubleshoot certain issues. So as we can see in this slide, we've mentioned a few stats. These are the different success criteria that IT teams depend on. This can be security, application performance, collaboration between teams, their ability to fix network issues, and how they can deliver a good end user experience. All of these different success criteria that defines the success of an IT team depends on how much visibility they have into the applications that they manage. So gaining visibility into applications is key to maintaining application experience, and IT teams need the right tools to gain that insight. So visibility or insights, it's a huge part of what defines application experience. Simply, the more granular and holistic visibility that you have into the applications that you're delivering, the better the application experience is, because you understand how each component is functioning and you understand where you can tune or optimize the in the application delivery chain to ensure that the user has the best user experience. For example, if you want to if you have an understanding of the application servers, right? If a service is down, you should be able to pull up any data around the application and correlate that or analyze that to figure out what is causing the issue, how can you resolve it. And the data that you have, the access to the data that you have is important and can have an impact on how quickly you can optimize application experience. But then there is a complication. In large organizations, there are many different teams, and these teams may be using different analytics tools, and this tends to create data silos. So if there is an incident, it may become complicated to analyze these different sets of data quickly. So, what would help is a centralized visibility plane, and that should provide a holistic view of the performance, the security of all the applications that you have deployed, and helps you maintain application experience. So, access to accurate, relevant, and granular application data can have a huge impact on how you deliver applications and the overall application experience. So, how does this all tie in, right? How all this that we discussed around application experience, how does it tie in with what LoadMaster offers? So, LoadMaster is not just a simple load balancing solution. It also has many capabilities beyond that that helps you contribute to creating a better application experience. And we'll look at all of this, how this works in the next few slides. I'll hand this over to James, and he'll explain how LoadMaster can enhance application experience. And then we'll also take a look at LoadMaster 360, specifically the user insights feature, and look at how it provides in-depth visibility into your load balanced applications.
Great. So where we'll start is we will go from there. Am I sharing my screen, Cam? I just want to make sure.
Not yet, James.
Okay, hold on. Okay, now we're better. Okay, we'll start off with kind of, before we dive into what the new product is and things like that, we need to start with, well, we start with a LoadMaster. And for a load balancer. For us, that's our LoadMaster. And really, what is it? Everyone here should know what a load balancer is. And if you don't, well, it load balances traffic to either intelligently, or it splits up requests to multiple backend servers to ensure things like it's very performant, it's balanced correctly, that your servers can process the requests adequately, or we can do things like front load security. We can do like WAF situations, or we can front load security single sign-on proxy capabilities. Anything from availability, scalability, performance, or security. Where this ties into and kind of dives into our new capabilities is the entire portfolio that we have for LoadMaster, where I talked about LoadMaster as a load balancer, but we also have a geo component to it, where we can load balance geographically, site to site across the globe, dependent on where your users are located, or different other parameters that define where you want traffic to be load balanced. Our WAF, which is our web application firewall, those capabilities have existed on LoadMaster historically. It does a lot of the processing and the securing your app aspect on the LoadMaster. But as we dive into our new product, we've enhanced that a bit further, and I'll show that off. As well as our Edge Security Pack. This is our single sign-on, our authentication proxy, and a few other bits and bobbles that focuses heavily on authentication and securing your app from a security perspective. And then lastly, LoadMaster 360. This gets into, well, what is LoadMaster 360? And this is our new SaaS offering. It's a new product that we released about a year ago. Over the last year, we've been maturing it, adding new feature sets, new capabilities. I'll go over a few of these in future slides, and I can also show a couple of them on the demo when we get to that. Like I said, it's a new SaaS offering that we have. It's an add-on to our current capabilities. Our existing customers can purchase this as an add-on, or our new customers can actually get involved from the start with different product offerings that we have. And in essence, what it is an orchestration and monitoring platform for everything that we focus on. So that previous slide that showed the portfolio, when it talks about authentication and security and load balancing, and from a geographic even nature, it's about bringing all that together, understanding what's going on around your application, and being able to do something about it, not just having a bunch of logs and you need to decipher what it means, but us collating all the information together into a relevant view and presenting like this. This example here is as a dashboard. That's a representation of the types of different data you can get. It's not everything. It's simply just a view that you can take a peek at. To dive a bit into kind of the product pillars of what Elm 360 focuses on, I won't dive too deep into this, but it focuses on, I would say, 6 major characteristics and areas. 5 of them are already in the product, 1 we're still building. We'll start off with Application Analytics and Telemetry. That's where we have comprehensive dashboards. We monitor your applications for health, performance, security aspects. These are things that we intrinsically understand. As experts of traffic analysis and load balancing, we're in a specific footprint in your environment that allows us to understand what's going well for your users, what's not going well. What should you pay attention to? What information can we surface easily? A lot of this does potentially exist on the load balancer and inside of logs that might be really hard to get access to, or you might have to dig and understand what these logs mean. What our product here does is it brings everything into LoadMaster 360, visualizes it and contextualizes it so that you understand exactly what you need to pay attention to and when. If we dive across the side of this, incident management. This is an understanding of, well, you're not always going to look at this. You're not going to be logged into here. This isn't a infrastructure management tool that spans across your entire network, across all different devices. This focuses heavily on the app experience that we're delivering from LoadMaster. And with that is, well, we need to be able to alert you when we believe it needs your attention, whether those be critical things, warnings. We have a series of different types of issues that boil up to incidents in our system. You can navigate inside our system to these. You can see them inside of our platform, but you can also get notified externally. Today, we do that via email, and we're also developing right now SMS, so that'll be in the product soon. But being able to externally get notifications on when you need to pay attention, when you need to take action, as well as the incidents themselves, give information on what is wrong, what can you do about it, um, what potential changes or issues have come across that we've seen have happened in something recent. Maybe someone logged in, changed a setting, and it caused this outage. We can correlate different changes and things that we're aware of, that we're monitoring, to reduce your time to resolution. Basically, allow you to rectify or even solve the problem quicker. We can go into the security analytics and detections. This focuses on our ESP and WAF functionality. So the ESP stuff is around authentication proxy and single sign-on. It does all this depending on what your app is doing. If we are utilizing different IDPs or Active Directory, we want to be able to surface key information around who's going through this, who's successfully authenticating, who's not successfully, meaning who's potentially typing in the wrong password, or who's actually failing authentication, and allowing you to see trends over time. Us handling the forward end of the user authentications allows the back end not to get compromised with, let's say, a dictionary attack or anything like that, so that it protects only successful authentications are actually going to your Active Directory or IDP on the back end. Us surfacing those analytics around what's good and bad and what's normal for you via trend analytics is key here, because a small company may have normally, let's say, 50 successful authentications a day, while bigger companies will have thousands. And understanding what's normal for you allows us to actually be able to show the value of what's available there. And then We have certificate lifecycle management and automation. Today, this focuses heavily on monitoring of your certificates, making sure that they don't expire, or it at least lets you know what certificates are being monitored, what applications are utilizing them, how critical those certs are to make sure that they don't expire. Like Em said before with like CrowdStrike, there are many examples of this where other applications such as Microsoft Teams or Outlook or other big apps actually had major outages due to simple things like certs failing to renew, whether that be automated or a manual situation, which many companies go through, where they need to manage what certs expire when. And if someone drops the ball, well, that could actually take down your entire app. So what we have there is focusing purely on cert monitoring, what apps are utilizing it, and the impact to your application experience. Where this is going to gravitate in the future next year is more around the automation piece, being able to automate that life cycle, either utilizing Let's Encrypt or other signing authorities such as like DigiCert or Sectigo or um, anyone basically that supports Acme. But being able to automate that process and making sure that you set up renewal policies and going through the process to make sure, well, you don't really need to manage it outside of setting renewal policies. And then I would say lastly is our usability experience. So from the start when we created this product, one thing we focused heavily on is, well, the look and feel, not just from, hey, it really looks nice and it's appealing on your eyes, but also the workflows, being able to really fine tune what we believe our user workflows are. My background, I said I was here for about 14 years. I started in our customer support organization. I was a network engineer. I assisted a lot, thousands of our customers get set up with our products, troubleshoot our products. And so we have a bunch of experts on our team like that, that allows us to mature our user experience of, okay, how can we finely tune getting started with our products? How can we finely tune users going through certain actions? Where are their pain points? So it's not just look and feel, even though we did invest a significant amount on making it look very nice. And then the coming soon is more around configuration management. This is more so about the orchestration piece, not needing to go to LoadMaster to set up, let's say, virtual services or alter rules or even deploy LoadMasters from the start. We're going down that path. That's currently in development. It's going to take some time to really mature that and get something out. Next year is something that we're looking at. But it will focus on being able to manage all your LoadMasters from this one interface, so that, as you could see, everything that I just talked about, it develops a unified view. A single pane of glass is what we call it. That's kind of an overused term, but we want you to be able to exist inside of this new product that will more or less replace your experience of how you are utilizing our products today. So that was a bit long-winded on that screen, but we can kind of endeavor to push on. Some of the benefits of LM360, I'll cruise through these. One, improving your application availability, simplifying fleet monitoring, accelerating issue resolution, and then broadening your application security. So I kind of chimed in on different aspects of this, but it boils down to being able to provide insights into key stuff. The first one is around health and status and understanding of what's available when, what are your SLAs, how are they actually meeting those. Fleet monitoring is about understanding your entire fleet. Some of our customers are small, where they only have, let's say, a pair of LoadMasters in HA. Some have hundreds of LoadMasters, where they have a wide fleet of understanding, okay, how is everything going? I don't want to actually look at each individual LoadMaster directly. Issue resolution ties into our incident system that I discussed, where we monitor your applications and your LoadMasters for anything that we call them K mods. These are things that we trigger based off certain events that happen, either simple things like, hey, CPU is over a certain threshold, memory, things like that, or more complicated things where we say, hey, your trend for how many connections you had in the last 24 hours is different than the next 24 hours, or lumpy load balancing where too much of a traffic profile is going to one of your servers rather than distributed across. Sorry, my headset cut off randomly. I don't know why. But different aspects of that um, are what we focus on in the Instance Center to make sure that, one, contextually you understand what we're doing, monitoring actively for you, and then alerting you externally through whatever means, email and SMS, like I said previously. And then app security is focused on the ESB stuff, as well as the enhanced WAF capabilities that we recently added to the product. As we dig into kind of the focus, I would say, of this webinar outside of the product introductions, what do we do, making sure everyone understands LoadMaster 360 and what this product offers, is recently we developed a series of new feature capabilities called User Insights. User Insights not only has some dashboard elements to it, but it focuses heavily on getting, well, key insights into your user behavior. Things like where are they coming from, geolocation wise, what's normal for you, what type of requests are coming in, and then even being able to drill into every single request that's coming in during a time series for your LoadMaster, being able to say, okay, I want to dive into what my users are requesting for, and see maybe what ciphers are they utilizing, what protocols are they negotiating with, what request types are they making, things like that. And I'll dive into that in subsequent either slides or the demo once we get to it. One piece of it is client connection insights. This area focused heavily on providing insights into, well, latency. Your users may actually report this as, hey, it's slow, or it's not loading correctly. It's a series of different pieces to this that show either round trip time, server trip time, from client all the way to your backend servers, allowing you to understand and maybe pinpoint where the latency is coming from, which segment in your network, so that you can either look at, let's say, the load balancer, or you could look at your servers or anything in between, as well as seeing this trend over time, being able to look at it historically and understand, well, is this normal for me? Is this expected? Is this something that is a spike? And then from an application point of view, being able to see both the app, the real server, and the client over time, being able to correlate the information. The other piece of this in user insights, there was, I would say, two major parts of it and a bunch of minors, but the two major was that one and then client request insights. Client request insights is, well, it's a comprehensive view into what your clients are requesting. I'll dive into this. I don't want to go too much into the slides because I'll demo this for you. And then we can go from there. But this one focuses heavily on what your clients are requesting and different views into top 10 URIs to top 10 client IPs, where they're coming from, and then being able to dig into each individual request. This is where we'll jump into the demo, and give me one moment. I'll just drag this over here, and that should be good. So let me just reload this. Let me sign out. Sign back in. Okay, so right now I have demo mode on. This is something that we've developed and we kind of pushed into all our tenants. So anyone that comes in and tries our product, they can actually experience most of the capabilities without needing to go down the path of uh, adding your load masters under management and waiting for the data to actually come in, because you might need to deal with, let's say, other organizations in your company that may take time. This allows you to see the value of even things that you don't use today, whether that be some of the user insight stuff or ESP. This is, I just started on, when we first log in, this is the one of the dashboards. You can create many different dashboards, customize the widgets, add different components. This is just a default view of an example where it shows different things like health of your applications and load masters. You could see, well, there's 17 apps, 15 are healthy, one's warning, one's critical. If you click on this, it will take you to that specific app and it'll tell you why it's either critical, what aspect of it is affected. Um, this as well gives you a breakdown of each individual application, which you can filter and sort based off of either critical and warning events, understand what virtual services are actually tied to this. One piece that I probably didn't discuss is, well, what's an application? Because if anyone is a current customer of ours, well, they set up virtual services. Well, the virtual services are really, if you, in essence, are roles. They're things that listen on an IP and port combination, and they ingest traffic and send it out a different path, depending on what we manipulate as well in between. A lot of times, let's say if I give you an example of Microsoft Exchange. Microsoft Exchange has lots of different subcomponents of it, whether that be OWA, ActiveSync, different pieces like that. Those all correlate to one application called Exchange. What we focused on in LM360 is the app experience, not the role experience of the VS. So during the process of bringing in your load masters under management, we allow you to go through a process to map your applications, being able to say, these 5 virtual services are all my Exchange stuff. I want to create an app called Exchange 2016, let's say. And then throughout the product, when we reference the application experience or different components like that, it combines that experience and the analytics together so that it's not fragmented information. So here's just a couple different pieces. Incidents. This highlights some aspects of expiring certificates. You can see I don't really have anything expiring now. 7 are greater than 90 days, 2 are less than 90 days. You can get a gauge of what this looks like. Again, these are just widgets. Each area has a different dedicated repository or focus area inside the product, like a certain area. These focus more on some of our SSO proxy capabilities. This is showing, let's say, SSO sessions over time per domain, being able to track how many sessions actively I have across each one of my domains that I'm authenticating. These show, let's say, successful auths, failed authentications. This is like a heat map. You can change how that looks. These are stacked bars where they show off what type of failed authentications you have, whether they're timeouts where your, let's say, your Active Directory isn't responding, or failed authentications where, well, they're outright getting a failed auth, and being able to understand what's normal for your organization over time. Things like top URI requests, top client IPs, who's actively potentially blocked when we're actually focusing on the SSO proxy capability. So if you authenticate incorrectly too many times, there are settings where we can actively block you. So you go into a timeout period. So these are all different examples of what you can actually have on a dashboard. There's a lot more that we're not showing, but this is just a default experience. Where we have some of our user insight stuff is in our application. So if I just dive into one of these apps, let's say Buckingham, this shows off a view of, okay, what is this app? Well, right now it's fully available. There's no issues. There's 3 virtual services tied to it. There's 8 real servers. There's no incidents currently with it. It gives me a view into what this is. And then some other telemetry, and this is more or less the basic telemetry here around health. So you can see total connections per second, total established connections, connection rates, request rates, and things like that over time. These can all be expanded and adjusted how you want to look at them. But user insights is kind of what we were focusing on previously and what I wanted to dive into. If we start off with the client request insights, this is where after you run a process, we can actually engage, I would say, almost debugging information coming from our LoadMaster to LM360. This does have let's say, a performance hit on your LoadMaster, so this doesn't run all the time. This runs when you actually want to learn more about your user insights, specifically on a per request basis, so that it doesn't negatively affect it all the time. But you can run this, and then you can get an understanding of, well, what type of requests am I getting in? If you want to see specific ones, um, you can pick. This is a demo, but you can actually see different aspects of what's being requested. Who is it coming from? What request methods have they requested? What client device are they utilizing? What browsers are they connecting over? How are they requesting it? Is whether it's a GET or a POST. What SSL versions they're utilizing, what ciphers are they negotiating with. A lot of this information is really digging deep. It's not surface level. It's more around either troubleshooting or being able to fine tune your settings that you want to be able to offer. For instance, if you would like to improve your security stance and you want to have a better security score, a lot of times it comes down to, well, you're allowing insecure ciphers that are graded lower from a security profile perspective. Now, first, you can easily go in, you could change what you're allowing to negotiate, but that could have a negative experience on your customers or your users, meaning their browsers or their devices may not support something you may be restricting it to. So getting an understanding of what ciphers are normally coming in from your users over a course of time will allow you to understand usage patterns, meaning who's coming in, negotiating over certain ciphers, gives you a purview of, can I actually make these changes without negatively affecting our users, or at least understanding that, hey, only 5% of my users are currently negotiating on that. I'm okay with that risk because I need to improve my security for everyone else, which will push and may negatively affect them where they might not be able to access your app, or they would be pushing into needing to support other ciphers. Some of the pieces down here focus on top 10, who's coming in. This will really matter to you, meaning where is traffic supposed to be coming in to the load balancer? Is this given offices that you have, or is this going to be around the globe? But if you have, let's say, specific offices, well, you can easily pinpoint this and say, okay, I'm expecting most of my traffic to come from these client IPs. This is normal to me. And outside of that, you can get an understanding of, well, why am I getting stuff from an IP that matches something in Russia? Well, I'm not expecting that. I need to now dig into this and see why do I have so many requests coming in from Russia? Do I want to allow that? Do I want to maybe go on my firewall and block it? Or even on the LoadMaster, you can block specific countries. You can go into LoadMaster and you can say, I don't want to allow connections from Russia. I don't want to allow connections from, let's say, China or any other countries that you pick, as well as top URL requests. This can be indicative of potentially security sniffing. Anyone that maybe has got through certain barriers in your security profile, they might be testing what things.
James, your headset cut off again.
Headset went off again.
Yeah.
It's okay. No, I don't know why. Headset's freaking out, but I'll I'll continue. And then top 10 URLs, like I was saying, is more around, is this normal for you? Again, are you expecting things to be requested? Is this normal for your application to be able to have these URLs even accessible? Do you need to harden down your application? Do you need a lockdown? Who's accessing what? Whether that be certain types of users or things that you didn't even know were accessible. Some admin directories potentially, or things that could be sensitive to have forward facing. And then when we get into application timings, this is where you can actually understand more around your latency, understand about your round trip time when it involves either the client or the server, understand what is normal for you. As you can see here, let's say the client RTT is only 2.57 milliseconds. The server is the same, just because this is demo mode, they make it pretty easy. But understanding what's normal for you, what's your minimum, what's your maximum over a certain period, what's your average, and then looking at it over a period of time of saying, okay, what's my trend? Being able to tweak this and understand over the last X amount of period of time, what am I normally at? Do I see a spike here? That can lead you into, well, if it's on the client side, what's upstream from the load balancer? It might be switches, it might be routers, it depends on your network environment, or it might actually be on the client side, depending on if it's outside of your control. But if it's on the server side, well, you definitely know what's in between the load balancer and the server. Maybe there's a switch. Maybe the server is actually overloaded. But being able to understand that we are detecting that there's a negative experience here from a latency perspective allows you to drill into where you need to now look into next. We're not going to solve the problem for you, but we can actually pinpoint it to say, oh, it's it's in this direction. Go look over here. This is what we recommend. Um, and that's more or less kind of where User Insights really focuses, is about surfacing analytics that currently LoadMaster is doing, whether that be processing the traffic, understanding your traffic profile, and then also being able to understand your user behavior and user insights. I didn't show off everything. I know we're more or less running up to time, and I just wanted to at least talk a bit about some of our WAF functionality briefly, very briefly. But the previous release that we had on this was focused around WAF. We enhanced our WAF capabilities here. We built an entire area dedicated, either within the application or the LoadMaster itself, that surfaces a lot of new information that wasn't surfaced in the LoadMaster. So if you tried our WAF previously, or if you've never tried it before, I would say get in touch with us. We can do trials here, and you can see there's a lot of useful information, not just from what the WAF is performing, what is it doing, how is it performing, is it good, is it bad, but also being able to fine tune your WAF. Being able to go through a series of steps to tune the WAF is one of the biggest challenges our customers has communicated to us, is you more or less need to be an expert in WAF to understand what it's doing and how to tune it to make it very performant to your specific needs. So I won't go into too much more than that, but I wanted to mention it at a minimum. We can then go into, I would say, Q&A. If we have any questions, like I said at the beginning, if you have questions, there's a dedicated area for questions. It could be anything technical, it could be around the product, or it could be around maybe how do we offer this.
Hi, James. I see that we have one question out here. The question is, how do I try LoadMaster 360? Is a trial available?
Yeah, so trials aren't baked into our, let's say, our trial workflow that's on the website today, but you can contact us directly, whether you have an account manager. If you do, you can contact them directly. They can facilitate a trial as well as an in-depth demonstration for you. Each one of our demos are curated specifically for each customer. So our sales organization with their engineers can actually go through demoing the product more in depth than I have, because I've only really touched some areas. But then they can actually facilitate a trial experience over, let's say, 2 weeks or 30 days, something like that. And we can work with you on a case by case basis. In the future, we will be adapting our trial workflow so that LM360 is kind of included in the mix.
Nice. I have another question for you. How does the new features affect the performance of my load balancing?
Okay, so if the question's more around, let's say, the user insights stuff, specifically, like I mentioned in there, user insights, most of the information that we're gathering doesn't really have a negative experience on the performance of the LoadMaster. But one of the key areas that I did go over was the drill-in capabilities of client requests. Like if I go back in here and let's say I go back into here and this specific area right here, so that is ran on demand. On demand, it runs for X period of time and then it turns off. And this is needed because, well, it enables really deep logging on the LoadMaster. Depending on how you're utilizing your LoadMaster, if it's near capacity or if you don't have sufficient resources tied to it, it could slow down the LoadMaster because of this extra processing it's doing. I would just say if you're not running the LoadMaster at 90% or above, you're more than likely not going to have an issue. It's just some of our customers are at that bleeding edge of capacity, and we do give a disclaimer here to say, look, if you enable this, it does spend additional CPU cycles here. It is CPU intensive to our processing, but it is short-lived. It is on demand. You get to control when you actually enable this, and it automatically disables after a certain amount of time.
I see another question here. The information in user insights, can I get this from LoadMaster directly, or do I have to have the LoadMaster 360?
It depends on which information. All of this is being derived from LoadMaster. So it's not like we're making this information up and just out of a hat. So LoadMaster is feeding us information, whether that be in log files, over the API, metrics. The devil's really in the details. So you have to be able to decipher what the logs are actually saying. What logs are relevant when we enable those kind of debug things. There could be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of logs that you may need to decipher. The information technically is in the LoadMaster. It's just, it's not easily consumable. This is what LM360 builds on. Now, not everything exists on LM360. Sorry, LoadMaster. Like I was saying, a lot of the enhanced capabilities we built on top. Our false positive analysis, our tuning process. These things are natively built inside of LM360, and they don't exist on LoadMaster directly. But from an analytics point of view, these analytics, yes, are derived from LoadMaster. They exist there. In most cases, they are accessible via API or in-depth logs. But coming from someone who's talked with our customers and worked with them for many years, it's usually a big challenge to expect that from our customer base, being able to drill into that and understand this. So we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting to make it easy on you and to surface this information of what is key information as well as what's relevant for you.
Okay. I have another question here. What are the benefits of LoadMaster 360 over KEMP 360 Central?
So KEMP 360 Central was a precursor to this product. I was also the product manager of that product as well in a different life a couple years ago. Effectively, we took Central and Vision. Central was more focused on the orchestration aspects of things, and Vision was the monitoring and analytics. what we've taken is, well, Vision's gone end of life already. Central isn't end of life, but it's more of end of sale, and it exists primarily for our on-prem customers that can't use a cloud SaaS environment due to security or government nature. That's really what Central is still doing today. But the difference between them is Central focused only on orchestration aspects. The analytics it surfaced was very minimal. Our product here does focus really heavily on the analytics, telemetry, metrics, certificate monitoring, things like that, that Central never had. The only piece at Central that we really don't have yet, which I disclosed earlier, is the configuration management. That piece is the orchestration piece. That's what we're still developing. But the difference between the two primarily comes to, well, this is a SaaS version. Central was an on-prem. Central was our legacy orchestration product, and LM360 focuses more so today on the analytics stuff, where, like I said, that either doesn't exist on LoadMaster surfaced, and Central never really had those capabilities.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions at this time.
James, sorry,
Yeah.
Rochelle. So there is another question here. So how easy is it to enable user insights? Is there something, existing customers, do they need to add on anything, install anything, or how do they get to user insights?
There's a minimum version required for LoadMaster. I believe it is 59. So there, there, there is a minimum version, and I think we also backported this into one of our LTSFs as well on 54. It's in our documentation. I don't know it offhand, off the cuff at least, but it really just supports a minimum version. There's no feature lock to it on LoadMaster. Um, it really just requires you to either have LoadMaster 360, or when you're trialing it, the LoadMaster needs to be on a certain version.
Okay, I think that's yeah, that's all the questions.
Okay, great.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions at this time. So I guess we can conclude today's webinar. As I mentioned, this session is being recorded. And as an attendee of this session, you will receive an email containing a link to the recording. If you have any questions or would like to try a trial of LoadMaster or have additional questions about LoadMaster 360 and the user insights, we do ask that you feel free to reach out to our team. Thank you.